Hello and welcome to this special edition of our Omni Talk Spotlight Series, where we are bringing you interviews with our top 20 OmniStars for 2022. The award was developed in partnership with Quorso to recognize the top omnichannel operators based on the headlines and the work they are driving within their respective organizations. I am Chris Walton.
And I'm Anne Mezzenga.
And we are pleased to welcome to the show today, Raghu Mahadevan, Chief Digital Officer at 7-Eleven. Raghu, welcome to Omni Talk and thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Chris, and thank you. I'm delighted to join your podcast and look forward to it. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so we have to ask, we've been asking many of our recipients this, how does it feel to be named one of the top OmniStars for 2022? You know, there's only 20 of them, Raghu.
Well, feels great. No, I'm both thrilled as well as humbled to receive that honor on behalf of 7-Eleven. So appreciate the dialogue with Quorso as well as part of that process. But feels good, and it's a testament to the journey that we have been on at 7-Eleven over the last, I would say, a good portion of 4, 5, 6 years. That has kept us trying to catch up with the customer, and as you know, that's easier said than done. So feels good. A lot more to go, but thanks again.
That's good to hear you say that. I loved how you said 4, 5, or 6 years too, because so many people we talk to haven't gone, you know, they can't get past the pandemic. Everything's because of the pandemic, but you're saying it's great to hear that you guys started this work that long ago and it's been that type of journey.
It has been, you know, in all earnestness, it started, I would say, I mean, if you really take 7-Eleven, it's been focused around the customer. It's a very iconic brand. It's a 95-year-old legacy. Customer in the center, neighborhood store, and it's been in the forefront of innovation. And you take it whether it's a to-go coffee or a Slurpee and so on and so forth, a lot of product innovation. And coming to digital, I think it was back in 2015, 2016 timeframe where the organization said, it's time, let's go. Not that it was not happening before, but in all earnestness, that's when it started. And a lot of the things that we have been able to solve for our customers has been due to this conscious investment that we started doing back then. And that's why I said 4, 5, 6. So it's probably more closer to 6 than 4.
Yeah, right. I figured as much.
Okay, Raghu, before we get started, we want to give a special shout out to our partners at Quorso, without whose support OmniStars would not have been possible.
100%.
Quorso is a tool your field leaders will actually thank you for. It turns all their reports into personalized top priorities, then helps them take the right actions to boost performance. You can learn how leaders at over 25,000 US stores are saving time and driving impact at Quorso.com. All right, Raghu, we talked about 7-Eleven. We talked about your history. You've certainly been keeping us busy on our Fast Five for the last 4, 5, or 6 years. Let's talk here a little bit about your background, specifically you, Raghu, the OmniStar first.
I joined 7-Eleven, I believe 5 years back, somewhere close to 5 years back. As part of my journey here, I started off building what is right now our 7NOW quick commerce business.
Okay.
So started here to make 7-Eleven a big part of the delivery ecosystem. And somewhere along the lines, also spent some time and rotation managing our marketing function. Played that role, I think, along the way. And then over the last 3 years have been in this capacity of managing all things digital for 7-Eleven.
And what were you doing before? What were you doing before 7-Eleven too?
Prior to that, I spent about 12 years at Capital One, in many different functional areas. One of them being deep rotation in digital. Done legal and compliance, risk management, operations, network planning, and most importantly, business analysis, as we call one of the primary segments of Capital One. Did that, and then somewhere in between, I spent 4 years at McKinsey.
Okay.
Prior to coming over here.
Okay.
Wow.
Another McKinsey guy.
I know.
Yeah, that's a very common theme on our show of late.
Raghu, I have a question, especially with 12 years in fintech, especially. What was unique about the 7-Eleven experience when you came over? Like, what excited you about it, and what was different?
Yeah.
I think the interesting part about when I took a look at what 7-Eleven was, and like I said, it was on a path to disrupt in a big way the customer experience and really land what that customer experience of the future was in an industry which I've been observing from outside in, especially when I was at Capital One. A chance to come and work on something as cool as turning on delivery across our 10,000, back then 10,000 store, now 13,500 store footprint.
Wow.
Just seemed like an exciting thing to be part of. So that's what got me here. It's an unbelievable journey, by the way.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about it and how you've been trying to find success within that journey. So let's talk now about the role, Chief Digital Officer. Where does that begin and end? What does that all encompass for you at 7-Eleven?
Yeah, so the way we go about revolutionizing digital, as I call it, for customer stores and franchisees and vendor partners, we've organized in 4 or 5 pillars. The first one is around the end customer. So what is the ecosystem you create when a customer is shopping in the store? So that includes the 7-Eleven app, the loyalty program as part of the app, 7 Rewards and Speedy Rewards, that we have Speedway, both banners together. The shopping experience, the payments, as simple as things from Apple Pay, Google Pay to our wallet experience, mobile checkout, all things frictionless checkout, and so on. The second pillar is around out of store customer experience. So what's the ecosystem you create when the customer is not in your store? And that's the delivery business. So everything from how do you get products to a customer when, where, and how they want it? That's the second one.
Okay.
The third one entails a whole bunch of work to make things easier to run the store.
Oh, all right.
As a big part of the effort, our stores are where customers interact with the brand. And how do you take pain out of the day of a store associate or a store manager or the franchisee, so that they are put in a better position to make the customer experience more delightful? So it goes from store systems and pin pad, point of sale, on and on and on.
Oh, great.
How do you make those back office functions easier? Not even just back office, just operating functions easier.
Right.
How do you make it easier to track a coffee machine running out of coffee, like things like that? The fourth pillar is around fuels and restaurants. So we have a burgeoning portfolio of restaurants, and then also our fuels business. So how do you go about digitizing many parts of those businesses? And the last one is our R&D function, which is 7 Next, and which is really tasked at figuring out what the customer experience of future is, or what the store experience of the future is. So that's kind of how we encompass all things digital at 7-Eleven.
I love that breakdown. One thing I want to ask you about that too is, you mentioned having responsibility over how the stores actually operate and helping them to operate more efficiently. I think one thing, Anne, that I've noticed as a through line through all of our conversations over the last 5 years is the companies that seem to have a better handle on kind of what needs to be done from an omnichannel perspective are taking that approach where there's someone that's digitally in charge of both the customer experience and also the employee experience at the same time. Raghu, would you agree with that statement? Do you think that's an axiom at this point for good omnichannel retail, or do you think you could really play it any way you want?
I think I subscribe fully to that statement.
You do?
Okay. Fully. I think it is extremely important to not miss the boat on all areas where you are touching the customer. So anything that you want, if the customer is not entering the store and you're a pure delivery business and there's no brick and mortar, that's great. You just half your task. But at the same time, if there is an ecosystem that you have to manage, which includes both brick and mortar as well as your e-commerce footprint, I think that lens of being more operator-led certainly helps us land the experience in a way in which it works for everyone, not just one person.
Which makes sense, because as you're talking about new delivery capabilities and new things that you're asking the stores to do, the tools and techniques the stores are using to bring those to life for the customers have to be part of that equation. And if you're still separating that out, it just doesn't make any sense. So, okay, so let me go up 30,000 feet here now. And the question that we love to ask is, what does the word omnichannel actually mean to you? How do you define that from your chair?
I see it 2 ways. The first lens is always the customer. It's basically how the customer wants to interact with us or shop with 7-Eleven. And whether one, they want to shop us in the store, or they want to shop online. You name the channel you want. I think that's one piece. The other one is the other way around, which is how do you make yourself aware for what you can bring to the customer across any different channel? And are there new channels that you can create for the customer where they can engage? So I see it both ways. I think it plays more heavily on the former rather than the latter, depending on where you are in the journey.
Right.
But whatever the experience you create, it has to be frictionless, and there has to be some customer delight, even for a transactional experience, in what you might always historically think as a quick in and out. Okay, that quick in and out be better, quick and delightful.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you have
That's a
to be
good point.
convenient. Yeah, you gotta. It's your part of the core of your business. In fact, it's in the name. Well, Raghu, you guys have been bringing a lot of innovation to the market very quickly, I have to say, and homegrown innovation. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I find most admirable about you and the 7-Eleven organization is that you're taking this and you're really kind of working this from the inside out. You're trying to build the teams at 7-Eleven to bring all this innovation out to market. What of all of the things you've done over your last, 4 or 5 years at 7-Eleven stands out to you the most so far?
Yeah, and it's a tough question to pick any one, but you little bit answered the question as you were saying it, which is
Nice job.
we have tried to we have tried to ensure we put things out for the customer that anticipates what the customer need is, and is able to bridge that pretty quickly, so that that transaction, which is convenient already, is even more convenient. For example, different parts and different things. So for example, first we heard the need from customers that, hey, we all can't play in your rewards ecosystem. A whole bunch of us are cash customers, right? And all the segment of customers are going in. So is there something very proprietary about launching a mobile wallet? No, I mean, every app has its own wallet, but
Sure.
how do you make it work for our cash customers who are in our stores? And that's something that we launched probably three and a half years back, or maybe even more. But that was unique at the time when we launched it. But then very quickly during the pandemic, it was more around how do you make it extremely frictionless for the customer to do it. So then we scaled our mobile checkout feature, which is you scan in your phone and pay and go. You don't have actually a cup of coffee, which actually scan, go, and just walk out the door. I think that was very convenient as that scaled. So did the delivery business, although we did start delivery back in 2018. I mean, as many things as we had for our customers, interestingly, on the store side, we also had something called a 7MD, which is 7 mobile device, which is, if you think about what it does, it's a one-stop terminal to do everything that the store associate can do, from checking out a customer transaction to ordering inventory to everything. We advanced everything that the store associate had to do in the back office room to doing it on a mobile device. So there's so many different things. If you ask me on a good day, I would say that the store one was so much more disruptive that it helped the customer transaction much easier. But like I said, I could go over one after the other.
And you built that all internally.
Yes.
That's so incredible. I mean, I really admire that about you. I think that's how do you decide then, Raghu, like when you're gonna take something on internally versus going external or bringing in somebody else and saying like, okay, we can do a lot of really great things, but it might be time to outsource one thing or another?
We give it conscious thought for almost each activity we pick up per se. And one of the things we did back in 2017 is to assemble a world-class digital and technology team in-house, because we felt at that point in time to get to the pace of delivery of things that we wanted to do for our customers required a certain level of attention in-house. And that's what we picked. And right now we have a good balance of what we do in-house versus where we leverage help. So it's a good combination that keeps us at the pace at which we want to be.
Right.
I love what you said there too about, like, you've got a lot of people in your industry actually kind of making it difficult to use cash, quite honestly. I mean, if we put it bluntly, and you guys are actually going the opposite way in a lot of ways, not the opposite way, but you're taking a different approach. You're saying like, how do we make it easier for those that want to pay cash to get more rewards and have a more delightful experience, as you said before. I think that's really interesting. Got it. So I'm curious too, like one of the things that struck us, that one of the reasons you guys got this award, or that you got this award too, was the efforts around Gold Pass. I'd love for you to talk to the audience about what Gold Pass is, and specifically given what you just said, what did it take to bring that to market? How did you get the buy-in for that whole initiative?
So Gold Pass obviously refers to our subscription program for the 7NOW delivery service. And we launched 7NOW back in 2018 and scaled through 2019 and 20. One of the things that arguably we were not the lead, I would say, in launching a subscription program here was the Gold Pass subscription. And I think it's very clear. I mean, customers want the convenience, but they also want value. While they want convenience, I mean, something that 7-Eleven has stood for is value and convenience. And how do you deliver that value? And then we took stock of what does the customer really want? So this is the Gold Pass stemmed out of a need, which is, can we put a 7-Eleven store basically at the doorstep of the customer at an unbelievable value? And that's how Gold Pass came about. And when you really think about the need state that drives the 7-Eleven purchase, it's that quick unplanned need. Instead of saying, oh, let me just take a right turn in, let me go and get this. And I know 7-Eleven stands for, they have great private label brands, nice value, high quality, et cetera, et cetera. How do you convert that into a feeling for the customer, which is, yep, I have constant access to 7-Eleven without having to step out? That's what the genesis was. Landing that is very easy because a lot of, I mean, it's the basic of a subscription plan, which you obviously would have heard from so many different, folks, is
right.
You get more stickiness and engagement. And as long as the stickiness and engagement drives repeat purchases, the ecosystem wins.
Right.
How about on the operational side of it, though? I got to imagine that was some new things for people to figure out, or to stand up in order to meet that 30-minute delivery, kind of promise with the program. Like how did you get through that aspect of it?
It's a combination of a few things, Chris, on that one. I think one of the things which is probably an unrivaled advantage for us is we have we have a footprint that sprawls 13,500 plus stores.
Right.
About 50% of the US population is within a couple of miles of a 7-Eleven. And that puts us in the center or in prime position to get the products really quickly. And then you put some fancy algorithms on top, and then you can advance it. So our average delivery times are anywhere from 25 to 26 minutes from customer clicking place order to and this is nationwide across our 40 plus DMAs where we are. So I think that's something that and then our store operations, like you mentioned, Chris, I think store operations plays a big part. The pick pack in our stores, the way we have designed that process, taking input from our stores, is such that the pick pack is very seamless.
Really? That was what I was most interested in. Yeah, is how you're actually doing the pick and pack on the floor to meet that time frame. But
one of the things that we were very conscious about is we wanted to land it in a way in which our store operators did not every order look the same for the store operator, so that there is reasonable amount of muscle memory built as they go about the pick pack process. And we have refined that over time. And that's something that is a key differentiator because our pick pack takes like a minute and a half too. That's it. Unless you have like 3 pizzas in the order, in which case, obviously, you don't cook pizzas in 30 seconds.
Sure. Right. Nobody wants a 30-second pizza, right?
Exactly. So other than that, that's I think that's something that also feeds into our shorter delivery times.
Well, Raghu, as you're thinking about that and how you're going to continue to, strive towards the shorter delivery times, you're evolving the technology that the store associates are using in store, both for that picking and then operationally how they're running the rest of the store. What are we going to be talking about on the Fast Five in the next few months or years? What headlines are going to be coming out that you can maybe tease for the audience listening to the podcast today?
See, like we always want to ensure we stay abreast of what is happening to further delight the customer. Now, in terms of say the specific question you asked on delivery times, maybe autonomous is a thing. So
Okay.
we have pioneered some autonomous deliveries in the past, all the way back to 2016. I think when we did a drone delivery back then in 2016,
Yeah.
to 16, 17. So we have some partners with whom we are exploring autonomous deliveries. And when that becomes ubiquitous enough, hopefully you see 7-Eleven bots running all around. Who knows?
I'd like to see that.
I got a follow-up question for you on that one for sure, but yeah, keep going.
so so there are things like that. We always want to look out for what was the next paradigm of frictionless checkout experience. We all know about the just walk out technology that we are emergingly seeing in say airports and so on. We have our proprietary cashierless store in our store support center here in Dallas.
Right.
That's something that is always interesting in trying to figure out how we scale that. So multiple different things in this format. Certainly, a big part of our effort will be, as we keep the pace on customer innovation, how do we also innovate for stores? And maybe one day there is an automatic vault stocking machine.
Oh, yeah, right. That would be great, huh?
I'm sure you have seen some at least in being piloted. So
yeah, I think there's even supposed to be one at grocery shop too coming up, next week. But all right, we got to ask you this. I know Anne's probably thinking the exact same thing I am because you mentioned it. We had the chance to interview somebody from Drone Up out at Home Delivery World at the beginning of the month too. I'm curious, in your mind, from your chair as the chief digital officer, getting to ask you this question. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, what as you look at autonomous delivery options, say drones or vehicles themselves, how do you separate the pros and cons of those options in your mind right now?
I actually am pretty pro autonomous if it can take off, and I have my own I have my own worldview in terms of what it's going to take for mass adoption, and it's certainly not going to be the retailer aspect of it. It's probably going to be more around any kind of regulations, for example, FAA approvals and DMV approvals for whether the vehicle's running on the road versus a sidewalk and what it means to the city and so on and so forth. So I think that's going to determine a lot of the adoption. From a technology standpoint, eventually everything will get there.
You think so? Drones too. So you think we'll see drones and vehicles doing autonomous delivery? That's your kind of prediction here?
Drones are already doing autonomous deliveries in many places. Like I said, from a technology standpoint, I think it will do whatever we need it to do.
Right.
I think from an adoption standpoint, these are the macro, I don't want socio-political factors. Whatever feeds into that is going to determine the pace at which it shows up. Hey, but if you're on a boat in the middle of a bay, wouldn't you like a beer delivered like that? I'm sure you want.
Sure.
Yeah,
I want mine.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Do you think autonomous delivery will happen in mass sooner or later via drone versus standard electric delivery vehicles? Like, which one do you think will come first?
Okay, this is just my personal guess. Okay.
Yeah, so right.
That'll be more on the automatic electric vehicle than the drone.
There will be. Okay. That's kind of what we think too. But yeah, we're just curious. It's good to hear. We've never asked that of anyone.
Yeah. I mean, but the people on the super yachts waiting for their beers, I mean, they might be putting some heavy investment money in pushing drones.
Yeah. The super yachts can beam it up, and they drink it in the metaverse.
If you have a super yacht and you don't have it fully stocked with all of the
you're not waiting for a delivery anyway. Who are we kidding?
That's right.
Maybe you get drone flying approvals for over the lake anyway, because you're not going to jeopardize people walking on the roads.
That's true.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get you out of here on this. We like to close these interviews, these OmniStar interviews, with the section we call the pay it forward section. So we'd love to know, if there's anyone that was instrumental on the ground for the work you've done over the past, even 6 years, like you said, 5 or 6 years that you've been there. Is there any person or teams of people you want to single out as a thank you for getting this award today?
I think it's going to be entire Team 7-Eleven. I think it's hard to pick any one party here. I think it's the full team. Obviously, I'm fortunate to have an amazing kick-ass world-class team here on the product and technology side of the house, combined with the operating company that we are, along with every facet of the business. And I'm going to miss out few if I start telling, I mean, operations, marketing, merchandising,
Right.
finance, tax. I mean, you can't do anything without tax, accounting, everything coming together. So I can't.
Right.
It's really hard to single out any one. But it's a full team effort. And if you have to land anything in the stores, because that's where rubber hits the road, it has to be a full effort. So I thank the entire team for this.
Yeah. So you're like, it's like the Emmys, you know, you got to get all those thank yous in to everyone.
Yeah, it's better not to start calling anyone individually. Otherwise,
Yeah, like who
because, like,
wasn't to forgot their wife or their spouse?
we could
that
spend
one
the
time?
next 30 minutes on each function, by the way.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
true.
100%. All right. Well, that was a wonderful interview. Thanks for sticking with us, Raghu, and thanks for taking the questions too off the cuff there, because I thought it was a lot of fun, and getting to pick your brain is a welcome opportunity for both Anne and myself. So we appreciate it a lot. So again, to everyone listening, thanks to Raghu Mahadevan of 7-Eleven and one of the top 20 OmniStars for 2022 for sitting down with us today. And as always, to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in, and be careful out there.